There is a particular feeling that comes before a journey. It arrives quietly, maybe in the early morning when the light is still soft and the world has not quite woken up. Maybe in the middle of an ordinary afternoon when you find yourself staring out a window, thinking about somewhere far away. It is the feeling of possibility. And in 2026, that feeling has never been more accessible to those of us holding dollars or British pounds. Because there are places on this earth, beautiful, layered, extraordinary place where a modest income stretches into something that feels almost luxury, where a single dollar or a single pound can buy you 3, 4, sometimes 5 times what it would back home. This is not about finding cheap places. This is about finding good places, places with soul, places with warmth, places that offer something Paris never could. Not because Paris is lacking, but because the world is vast and beauty takes many forms. Let us begin. We start in Southeast Asia, in a country that sits between rivers and mountains, and the quiet memory of ancient kingdoms, Vietnam. Imagine arriving at dawn. The plane descends through thin white cloud, and below you the land unfolds in shades of green so deep they almost look black in the early light. Rice paddies stretch to the horizon, like mirrors laid flat on the earth. You land. The air is warm and carries the faint scent of rain on hot pavement, of street food already being prepared somewhere nearby. For someone arriving with British pounds or American dollars, the numbers feel almost unreal. $1 exchanges for roughly 25,000 Vietnamese dong. 1 British pound for around 30,000. A comfortable guest house room in Hoi An costs between $5 and $15 a night. A bowl of pho, that slow-simmered broth that Vietnamese grandmothers tend for hours overnight, costs between $1 and $2 on the street. A full meal of rice, grilled fish, and fresh vegetables might come to $4 or $5 in total. In Hanoi's Old Quarter, the streets are narrow and layered with history. Each street was traditionally named for the craft practiced there. Silk Street, Tin Street, Paper Street. You can still find those trades today, tucked between coffee shops and motorbike repair stalls, living alongside modernity without quite surrendering to it. Vietnamese coffee deserves its own quiet meditation. Strong and dark, dripped slowly through a small metal filter into a glass half filled with sweetened condensed milk. You sit with it at a small plastic stool on the pavement. You watch the street. The morning passes, and it costs less than $1. Further south, Hoi An glows at night, lit by hundreds of silk lanterns in every color, reflected in the slow river below. It is one of those places that does not feel entirely real. One of those places you carry with you long after you have left. A monthly budget of $800 to $1,200 gives you in Vietnam a comfortable private apartment, daily restaurant meals, motorbike rentals, and weekend trips to beaches and mountains. We move now to a country that feels, in certain moments, like the soul of Southeast Asia made visible. Cambodia. To arrive in Siem Reap is to arrive somewhere quietly astonishing. On the edge of the city, accessible in 15 minutes by road, lies one of the greatest architectural achievements in human history, Angkor Wat. Built in the 12th century by the Khmer king Suryavarman II, it covers more than 400 acres. Its central tower rises 65 meters into the sky. The walls are carved with thousands of figures, apsaras, celestial dancers, their stone faces patient and serene after 8 centuries. To walk into Angkor at sunrise, when the sky turns slowly from deep purple to orange and gold, and the towers are reflected perfectly in the moat below, is to feel something shift quietly inside. Cambodia is one of the most affordable destinations in the world for Western travelers. A good guest house room costs between $8 and $20. A meal of amak, fish cooked in coconut milk and lemongrass, served in a banana leaf bowl, costs $2 or $3. A tuk-tuk for the whole day costs between $10 and $15. In the south, Kampot is a gentle river town with French colonial buildings slowly being reclaimed by vegetation and repurposed into cafes and guest houses. There is a quietness to the place that invites you to stay longer than you plan. The islands off the southern coast, Koh Rong, San Loem, offer beaches of almost embarrassing beauty. Clear turquoise water, white sand, bioluminescent that lights up the shallows at night, like scattered stars. A monthly budget of $700 to $1,000 can fund a genuinely comfortable life in Cambodia. We travel now across the Bay of Bengal to a country that contains multitude, India. To describe India in the space of a single chapter is to attempt something inherently incomplete. It is a civilization that has been continuously inhabited and continuously reinventing itself for 5,000 years. And it showed. The Indian rupee means that $1 exchanges for around 83 to 85 rupee, 1 British pound for around 105. These numbers allow for a quality of life that would be simply unaffordable in Western Europe. In Rajasthan, the city of Jaipur glows terracotta pink in the morning light. The amber fort rises on a hillside above a still lake, its walls golden against the sky. In the bazaars, you can buy block-printed cotton fabric, silver jewelry set with semi-precious stone, and miniature paintings made with brushes of a single squirrel hair. A long afternoon of shopping for $15 or $20. A guest house room in Jaipur costs $8 to $20. A thali meal, the great rotating platter of dal, rice, roti, pickle, and raita, costs $2 or $3 and is, repeatedly, one of the most satisfying things a traveler can eat. Varanasi, on the banks of the Ganges, is a city so ancient it makes Rome look young. The Ghats, stone steps leading down to the river, are alive at all hours. Sadhus sit in meditation, covered in ash, their eyes somewhere far away. Flowers and oil lamps are floated on the water at evening, drifting away like small prayers. A boat on the Ganges at sunrise costs $1 or $2, sometimes less. In the south, Kerala offers dense tropical greenery, backwater canals navigated by slow wooden houseboats, and beaches where Arabian sea waves roll in through coconut palm. India asks things of its visitors: patience, flexibility, a willingness to release the need for everything to be smooth. In return, it gives a sense of depth that is very hard to find elsewhere. For a budget of around $1,000 a month, you can live very comfortably in most parts of India. We move now to a country in South America that has been quietly capturing the imagination of travelers for years. Colombia. Medellin sits in a narrow valley in the Andes, surrounded on all sides by steep green mountains. The neighborhoods climb those mountains, connected to the valley below by a cable car system, the metro cable, that was built to bring hilltop communities into the city's light. Riding it, you rise above a sea of orange-tiled rooftop, then higher still to patchwork houses climbing the green hill, and beyond them, the mountains rising into cloud. It is a beautiful, improbable, moving sight. The Colombian peso means that $1 exchanges for approximately 3,900 to 4,000 pesos. 1 British pound for around 4,900 to 5,000. A comfortable furnished apartment in the El Poblado neighborhood of Medellin costs between $500 and $800 per month. A meal at a local restaurant, bandeja paisa, the great mountain platter of red beans, rice, ground beef, pork belly, and chorizo, costs $3 to $5. A fresh squeezed tropical fruit juice made from lulo or maracuya costs $1 or less. The coffee region of Colombia, the Eje Cafetero, is staggeringly beautiful. Hills covered in coffee plants with their waxy green leaves and red cherries, fincas painted in yellow and red and blue, dotting the landscape. In the cafes here, some of the finest coffee in the world costs less than $1 a cup. Cartagena, on the Caribbean coast, is a labyrinth of cobblestone streets and colonial mansions painted in yellow and ochre and deep rose. Bougainvillea spills over iron balconies. The Caribbean shimmers in the distance. For around $1,000 to $1,500 a month, you can live very comfortably in Colombia. We turn now toward Eastern Europe, to a country whose landscapes carry the quiet beauty of a world that modernity has not entirely reached. Georgia, small, ancient, perched between the Caucasus Mountains and the Black Sea. Georgia is one of the great hidden treasures of the travel world. The old town of Tbilisi clusters around a hillside above the river, its wooden balconies overhanging the lane, its churches and towers making a skyline that is distinctly, unmistakably, its own. The natural hot springs that bubble up from beneath the city have been used for bathing since at least the 5th century. There are still bathhouses here where you can soak for an hour for $2 or $3. The Georgian lari means that $1 exchanges for roughly 2.7 lari. Prices are strikingly low by European standards. Georgia has a wine culture among the oldest in the world. Archaeological evidence suggests winemaking here dates back 8,000 years. Georgian wine is made using ancient clay vessels buried in the earth, producing rich, complex amber wines, unlike anything you have tasted. A glass costs $1 or $2 in a Tbilisi wine bar. A bottle from a respected producer might be $6 or $8. Georgian food is a revelation. Khachapuri, bread stuffed with melted cheese, an egg cracked into the center, is comfort food at a profound level. Khinkali, large pleated dumplings filled with spiced meat and broth, are similarly extraordinary. A full meal with wine costs $5 or $6. Beyond Tbilisi, the Svaneti region is a highland landscape of medieval stone towers rising from alpine meadow. To hike there, through wildflower meadows and glacial streams with snowy peaks on all sides, is to feel genuinely far from ordinary life. On $700 to $1,000 a month, you can live very well in Georgia. We turn now to Thailand, generous and golden, and abundant with comfort at every price point. The Thai baht means that $1 exchanges for approximately 35 to 36 baht. £1 for around 44 to 46. Chiang Mai, in the mountainous north, is where many long-term travelers eventually arrive and stop moving. It is a city surrounded by lush hills and dotted with more than 300 Buddhist temples. Walking within the old city's square moat in the early morning, when monks are making their alms rounds in saffron robes and golden stupas catch the low morning light, is one of those quiet experiences that stays with you for years. A private studio apartment in Chiang Mai costs between $200 and $400 per month. A bowl of khao soi, the northern curry noodle soup, silky and complex and faintly smoky, costs between $1 and $2. A Thai massage, an hour of genuine therapeutic attention, costs between $5 and $8. A monthly budget of $1,000 to $1,400 covers a private apartment, daily restaurant meals, gym membership, scooter rental, and regular trips into the surrounding hill. The south brings the island. The water in these places is the color of shallow lapis, a blue that does not seem to belong to the everyday palette of the world. Coral reefs lie just below the surface. Fish move through them like small colored flame. We travel now to Morocco, where the Sahara meets the Medina, and the ordinary world loosens its hold entirely. Crossing from Spain into Morocco by ferry over the Strait of Gibraltar is one of the great short journeys in travel. In 20 minutes, the world has changed entirely. The Moroccan dirham means that $1 exchanges for approximately 10 dirhams, £1 for around 12.5 to 13. In Fez, the old Medina is a labyrinth of 9,000 streets and lanes, some so narrow you can touch both walls with your arms outstretched. There are no cars. The sounds are those of hammers on brass, of looms weaving, of the call to prayer echoing from minarets above the rooftop. The tanneries of Fez are filled with large stone vats of natural dyes, amber and crimson and deep indigo. Workers standing in them using methods unchanged in 1,000 years. Viewed from above, they form a mosaic of color that is unlike anything else on earth. A Riyadh guest house room costs between $20 and $40. A tagine, lamb slow-cooked with preserved lemon and olives, costs $3 to $6 at a local restaurant. Marrakech is more energetic. The great square of Gemma Elfna transforms through the day into a carnival of storytellers, musicians, and food stalls filling the air with smoke and spice. And then, the Sahara. The dunes of Erg Chebi rise to 150 meters, sculpted by wind. At sunrise, they are pale gold on one side and deep shadow on the other. Silence is absolute. Nothing moves except your own footsteps, sinking slowly into the sand. A month of travel in Morocco can be accomplished for $700 to $1,000, including accommodation, food, and transport. We come now to Albania, one of the most overlooked and most rewarding destinations in all of Europe. The Albanian lek means that $1 exchanges for approximately 95 to 100 lek, £1 for around 120 to 125. Albania is one of the best value destinations on the entire continent. The Albanian Alps in the north are among the most dramatic mountain landscapes in Europe. The Valbona Valley is a place of meadows and rivers and limestone peaks that feel genuinely wild. Guest houses here serve homemade meals of lamb and fresh cheese for $5 or $6. A room is $15 to $20. Gjirokastër in the south is an Ottoman-era city of stone houses climbing a hillside, its fortress looming above. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that receives perhaps 100th of the visitors of Dubrovnik just across the border. The Albanian Riviera offers sun loungers for $2 or $3. A meal of fresh fish grilled simply with lemon and olive oil at a restaurant overlooking a turquoise cove costs $8 to $12. The water on this coast is the kind of clear and blue that surprises that you do not expect at a European latitude. Samil, near the border with Greece, has small islands connected to the shore by sandbar. The water between them barely seems real. For a budget of $600 to $900 per month, Albania offers a life of genuine comfort and beauty. It is a country that rewards early arrival before the development that is surely coming catches up with the prices that still, for now, feel like a gift. We travel now to Guatemala, a country of volcanoes and lakes and ancient Maya city. The Guatemalan quetzal means that $1 exchanges for approximately 7.7 to 7.8 quetzal. Lake Atitlan is framed by 3 volcanoes on 3 sides. The water is deep blue-green and changes color through the day as the clouds move over the mountains. Maya villages cluster on its shores, each with its own market day, its own quiet way of being. The boats that cross the lake between villages cost $1 or $2. Antigua, Guatemala is a colonial city of Baroque churches and cobblestone streets, painted in deep yellows and terracotta reds, framed by 3 volcanoes. At night, from a rooftop guest house, you can sometimes see the glow of lava from the summit of Volcán Fuego. A room in Antigua costs between $15 and $35. A meal of black beans, rice, grilled chicken, and fresh handmade tortillas costs $2 to $4. Tikal, in the northern jungle, is one of the greatest archaeological sites of the ancient Maya. The pyramids rise above the forest canopy. From the top of Temple de Four, you look out over an unbroken sea of green, and from that green rise, the stone tops of other temples, like islands emerging from water. Howler monkeys call from the trees below. Entering Tikal at dawn, moving alone along the forest paths, hearing only the jungle waking around you, is one of those experiences that travel can, at its best, provide. A reminder that the world is older and stranger and more magnificent than daily life generally suggests. A budget of $600 to $900 per month covers comfortable accommodation, all food, Spanish classes, and travel around the country. Our final destination is Mexico, complicated and brilliant, and offering at its table a feast of culture, food, and landscape assembled over 3,000 years. Not the resort town, the other Mexico, the Mexico of colonial cities and mountain villages and jungle ruin. The Mexican peso means that $1 exchanges for approximately 17 to 18 pesos, 1 British pound for around 21 to 22. Oaxaca is a city in the mountains of southern Mexico, perhaps the most celebrated food destination in the entire country. The food here is ancient and complex. There are 7 molds, 7 different sauces, each built from different chilies and spices, and chocolate, each the product of days of preparation. At the central market, you eat extraordinarily well for $2 or $3. A tlayuda, the large, crisp corn tortilla spread with bean paste and cheese and meat, costs $2 to $3. The city itself is beautiful. The Cathedral of Santo Domingo, built in the 17th century, is covered inside in intricate gilded stucco, a garden of stone flowers covering every surface, glowing in the candlelight. The surrounding streets are lined with buildings in green volcanic stone. San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas is cooler, older feeling, with a large indigenous Maya population and a tradition of textile weaving that produces some of the most beautiful fabric in the Americas. The Yucatan offers cenote, natural sinkhole, whose water is so clear and blue that swimming in them feels like swimming through a dream. A furnished apartment in Oaxaca costs $300 to $500 per month. For around $1,000 to $1,200, Mexico offers a quality of life that would cost 4 or 5 times as much in Western Europe. And so we arrive at the quiet end of this long journey. 10 countries, 10 different worlds, each offering its own particular form of beauty, each generous to those who arrive with Western currencies and a spirit of curiosity and respect. Vietnam and Cambodia, where ancient cultures coexist with a warmth of welcome that never becomes ordinary. India, immense and overflowing with beauty of every kind. Colombia, transforming and alive in ways that cities rarely are. Georgia, ancient and mountainous, pouring wine from clay vessels older than most of what we call history. Thailand, golden and abundant. Morocco, where the desert meets the Medina. Albania, where a coast of impossible beauty is still, for now, available to anyone willing to look. Guatemala, where volcanoes rise from jade lakes, and the jungle holds the memory of a great civilization. And Mexico, brilliant and endlessly generous.
In every one of these places, $1 or a pound buys more than it does at home. Sometimes 2 or 3 times more, sometimes 5. The exchange rates are simply numbers, but what they translate into, in practice, is time. Time to stay longer, time to sit still. Time to eat slowly at a table on a street in a city you have just begun to understand. Time to take the slower train, the longer route. This is, in the end, what travel is for. It's not the photograph from the top of the famous thing, but the unhurried hour. The meal that goes on longer than expected because the conversation turned interesting. The morning walk through streets where life is happening on its own terms. These places do not belong to us as travelers. We are guests. What we bring matters as much as what we take. We bring our attention, our curiosity, our willingness to be changed by what we encounter. The world is large, it is patient, it is waiting. And for those of us holding dollars or pounds in this particular moment of 2026, it is more accessible than ever. All that is required is the willingness to go, to step off the familiar path, to let the light on a distant mountain, or the smell of a night market, or the sound of rain on a tile roof in a foreign city be the things that stay with you. They will. They always do. End of script. Estimated reading time at calm narration pace, 30 to 35 minutes. But before we close, let us linger a little longer. Because the most important part of this story is not the numbers. It is not the exchange rates as generous as they are. It is something quieter than that. It is the realization which comes slowly and then all at once that the life you imagine, the one with mornings that are not rushed, with meals that are not eaten standing up, with evenings that belong entirely to you, that life is not a fantasy, simply a matter of geography. Think about what $1,000 means in London. It is perhaps a week's rent for a small flat in an unremarkable neighborhood. It is groceries and transportation, and perhaps one dinner out. It is the ordinary cost of an ordinary week. Now think about what $1,000 means in Chiang Mai. It is a month's rent for a modern apartment with a pool. It is every meal eaten out, every day at restaurants, where the food is extraordinary. It is a weekly massage. It is a scooter to ride into the mountains on weekends. It is the Spanish lesson, or the cooking class, or the one-day trip to the temple in the hills that you keep meaning to take. The same money, an entirely different life. This is not a small thing. This is, for many people, the difference between feeling constantly squeezed and feeling genuinely free. And that freedom, the freedom that comes from knowing your basic costs are covered, that you are not spending the majority of your waking hours simply maintaining your existence, that freedom changes everything. It changes what you notice. It changes how you move through the world. It changes what you are able to give to the people around you. There are those who have made this move and speak of it with a quiet wonder. Teacher from Manchester who found herself in Maidwind for a month and is still there 3 years later. Retired electrician from Ohio who arrived in Vietnam for a holiday and never quite managed to leave. A young couple from Edinburgh who decided to spend a year in Oaxaca and discovered, somewhere between the mole negro and the mezcal, that they had been looking for exactly this without knowing what it was called. These are not extraordinary people. They are ordinary people who made one decision, the decision to test whether the life they wanted might be available somewhere they had not yet looked. In Vietnam, the early morning belongs to a particular kind of silence. Even in Hanoi, even in a city of millions, there is an hour before the motorbikes begin, when the streets are quiet and light is still soft, and the vendors are setting up their stalls, and the smell of broth drifts from kitchens that have been working since midnight. To walk through a city in that hour is a gift. To have the time and the freedom to do so, to have no alarm pulling you somewhere else, no schedule demanding your attention is another kind of gift entirely. In Georgia, the mountains hold the light differently in the evening. The sun drops behind the Caucasus, and for an hour the sky turns shades of gold and pink and violet that are unlike any other sky. The people of Tbilisi have a word tomita for the one who leads the toasts at a feast. Yes. A Georgian feast can last for hours, moving through course after course and toast after toast, each toast more heartfelt than the last. To be invited to such a table is to understand something about generosity that is hard to put into words. In Morocco, the evening call to prayer echoes across the Medina as the light fades and the lanterns come on in the souk, and the smell of charcoal and cumin drifts through the streets. The tea Moroccan mint tea, poured from a height to create the foam that is a matter of pride, is served sweet and hot and is one of the small repeated pleasures of a life lived there. In Guatemala, the market days in the villages around Lake Atitlan bring together the colors and weaving traditions of a dozen Maya communities. And to sit at the edge of such a market, watching the commerce and conversation of a civilization that has been continuous in this place for thousands of years, is to feel the particular weight of history that only certain places carry. In Albania, the evening promenade, the shiro, the tradition of walking through the town center after dinner, is a social institution that has survived everything the 20th century threw at this country. People walk, they talk, children run ahead, old men sit at cafe tables and watch it. Is the simplest possible vision of a community at ease with itself, and it costs nothing, and it is available every single evening. These are the things that exchange rates cannot capture. These are the things that make a place not merely affordable, but livable. Not merely inexpensive, but rich in the ways that matter most. When we talk about your money being worth 5 times more, we are really talking about your time being worth 5 times more. Your margin, your ability to be present in the place where you are, rather than constantly calculating what you can and cannot afford. That is the real currency of these 10 countries, and it is more valuable than any exchange rate. So wherever you are right now, in a flat in London, or a house in Ohio, or an apartment in Edinburgh, or a shared room somewhere that does not quite feel like home, know that there is another option, a slower one, a less expensive one that trades the familiar for the extraordinary and finds, more often than not, that the trade was worth making. The world is out there, patient and beautiful and waiting. And your money, in more places than you might think, goes a very long way.